Hello everybody, and today we are going to paint my front door. I got into this house, it's a white front door, and everything else and all the trim and stuff is black. So I'm going to try to do a black door here, and we're going to go through basically all the steps on how I'm going to do my front door. One of the first things I already did, if you already noticed, is I took off all the hardware. I took off the kick plate down to the bottom. I also took off the doorknobs and the knocker right there and locks, just so that's done and out of the way. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to prep it, sanding, clean it up, and then go into the type of paint I'm going to use and get painting. So let's get moving on this. Alright, so if we look at the front door, it's relatively clean. It's a little dirty, so we're going to need to go up and clean it. We could see, some chips over here, normal wear and tear, stuff what the door knocker was, doorknobs, and then if we look down, it's where the kick plate was. So we're going to go in, I'm going to sand this with this right here. Rigid. I got a 220 grit right here, nice fine, just to kind of break up all the edges, and I think the DA is going to best do it. And then I'm going to use also these little blocks, these little sanding blocks to get in any of the tight corners. All right, so let's get to it. So what I'm doing here is I'm just using the random motorable sander, or DA, whatever you want to call it, to kind of go in and get all the big flat areas with that 220 grit. I found the 220 grit seems to work very well at pulling off any little nibs or any little dents, scratches that might be in that primer that comes on the door. Then I go in with this fine 3M sanding block, kind of get it into tight spots, and pretty much that's it. Alright, so you can see I went in and sanded, kind of broke up some of the little chips. It's definitely a little bit smoother now with that 220. Now I'm just going to go in and give it a good wipe down so it's all dust free. Basically at this point you can use any sort of damp cloth, tack cloth, or anything like that to remove any of the stuff off the door left over from sanding. This way when you go to paint, it doesn't get caught on the brush or form any little bumps, nibs, or anything like that. Alright, so now the door's all clean. Looks pretty good. We're just going to go in now, and we're going to start going in painting. So let's take a look at the paint I have here. What I decided to use for this was this Rust-Oleum Painter's Touch, a semi-gloss I decided to go with. Some people recommend going for a gloss paint. I'm going to use semi-gloss. I think gloss might be a little too much. I also have some furniture out here that's a semi-gloss, so I think it'll look pretty good. Fast drying, indoor, outdoor durability, ideal for wood, metal, and more. 1 quart is usually what they recommend for a front door, so pretty basic front door, nothing crazy. So we'll mix this up. I'm going to go in with a roller for the bigger areas and brush in some of the where I have to cut in, and that's it. So let's get to the painting. Here with the brush I cut in with, I went and got the cheapest, basically 2-inch brush set from Home Depot that I could get. I'm not cleaning these brushes after using Rust-Oleum. I'm just using them to basically cut in and around everything. Even over by the window, you just cut straight in and you'll come back with a razor blade and you can pull off everything. Then I used this small 4-inch roller to get all the big flat areas, or as much as I can for the first time, just to make it easier for it to cover with the brush later on. The first coat in some areas is not light, but it just doesn't really cover well, but it's enough so that the second and coats after that work a little bit better over it. Okay, so this is coat 1. There's about an hour and a half for dry time. I'm gonna just come in right with coat 2, all brush, so I can get some brush marks, make it a little bit nicer. I don't like the nap finish that's left by the roller, but I think the brush is definitely the way to go. And then we'll let it dry and get everything assembled and see how it looks, and clean up these windows and get rid of that ADT sticker. All right, everyone, here we go.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
All right, so here's coat number 2, covered pretty well. I may do a third coat. We'll see how this dries up. Right now it looks a little sketchy drying, but in person it looks a little bit better. So we'll see. We'll give this about 45 minutes or so, see how it looks. But I think I can get away with just a couple little touch-ups. So I'm just going to run back over with the brush in a couple of spots where I think it's a little heavy, and I think I might be good to go. What I'm doing here is I'm just putting the hardware back on the door. I'm able to do this because that Rust-Oleum semi-gloss paint dries super quick. I think to the touch in about 30 minutes. Recoats times 2 to 4 hours, and I was able to recoat it easily a little bit after an hour, hour and a half, I think it was, without any problem. There was like very low humidity on this day, so it dried definitely pretty quick. But I don't need to bore you with putting all the hardware back on. It's basically pretty straightforward. You do also go cut in around the door with a razor blade, the top glass over there, to clean that up. And that's pretty much it. Let's take a look at what we get towards the end of this. Okay, so here's the front door. We're walking up to it. It's opening up, and we can see here with all the hardware on it and cleaned up around that glass. A couple little touch-ups are needed, but it's definitely an improvement over that white door. And we can see kind of the front view with the screen door closed. And I did some work to the screen door. I painted the bottom black and added some black hardware to it. And this is from the street. So definitely an improvement over that white door. Kind of makes it stand a little bit more. All right, everyone. Thanks again for watching. Have a good day. Bye.